Bienvenido familia. I am Frankie Miranda, President of the Hispanic Federation. Welcome to Encuentro Digital, Hispanic Federation's Latino Digital Skilling Symposium. We're extremely excited to be here, as this is a national convening to discuss Latino digital skilling, an issue that is critical for the recovery and resilience of our community during these unprecedented times. The fact that so many of you made it a priority to be here today in this virtual space speaks volumes about your commitment to bridging the digital divide for Latinos across the country. For those who may not be familiar with the Hispanic Federation, we are a national nonprofit organization that works to uplift the Latino community. We focus on grant making, advocacy, and community programs. We have been around for more than 30 years and work in partnership with over 300 Latino community-based organizations across the country to ensure Latinos have access to adequate social service support and resources to increase their well-being. 2 years ago, thanks to our friends at google.org, Hispanic Federation embarked on a national Latino Digital Accelerator initiative to support 24 Latino community-based organizations teaching essential digital skills to uplift Latinos for the workforce of tomorrow, which now, after the onset of the coronavirus pandemic, is very much the workforce of today. Low-wage, part-time female and workers of color are the most affected and the most likely to continue to be impacted by unemployment due to the pandemic. This also happens to be the same groups that often lack digital skills. According to the National Skills Coalition, Latino workers are 14% of overall workers, but represent 35% of workers with no digital skills and 20% of those with limited skills. More than half of Latino workers are in need of vital digital skills that are crucial to obtaining gainful employment and resources to support their families. It is precisely for this reason Hispanic Federation has supported a network of Latino organizations across the country, creating training pathways to close the digital skill gap among Latinos. Today, we celebrate the accomplishments of the organizations that form Hispanic Federation's Latino Digital Accelerator and gather to learn more about the amazing work being done by our network of agencies skilling our community. Over the next few hours, we will hear from community leaders and digital inclusion advocates committed to advancing best practices and needed reforms to support digital equity for Latinos across the nation. But before we get started, I want to talk a little bit more about the Run the World platform we're using and the features it has to offer to provide more of a conference feel. The platform is intended to create an interactive experience with opportunities for all participants to meet speakers and connect with other attendees hailing from different states and regions. We encourage you to visit the main page with the agenda on the platform to view the list of activities scheduled for today, which is packed with panel discussions, spotlights, and the chance to win a Chromebook when we close the symposium. During the panel sessions, you will be able to chat, but also grab the mic and join panelists on stage. Ask questions. You can also participate during this discussion by sharing on Twitter using the handle @HispanicFed and hashtag #HFEncuentroDigital. Again, that is @HispanicFed and #HFEncuentroDigital. And let's get started now. I would like to hand it off to Hector Mujica, a friend, Hispanic Federation board member, and economic opportunities lead for the Americas at google.org, who will provide introductory remark. Hector, this initiative and today's event will not be possible without your support. Thank you for the foresight, your dedication, and trust to strengthening Latino institutions and digital skilling programs for Latinos in this digital economy. Take it away, Hector. Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you for that, Frankie. Hi, everyone. It's good to be with you all today. First and foremost, I would like to thank the incredible team at the Hispanic Federation for taking this kernel of an idea and turning it into a reality. Now, I think we can all acknowledge that the COVID-19 pandemic has accelerated structural shifts in the economy, many of which are likely here to stay. This includes shifts such as the move to a more digital economy, automation of labor operations, the growth of remote work, and an increased need for distance learning. While these changes might be productive in the long term, we must acknowledge the disruptions that they're currently creating for underserved communities and leverage them as an opportunity to build a digital economy that is within reach for all communities. This is a topic that's deeply personal to me. As a Latino in tech, it's also really important to Google as a company that strives to create greater equity and access to opportunity. At google.org, we've been investing in ensuring the upward mobility of Latinos for years, including the work we're doing here alongside the Hispanic Federation to build a Latino digital accelerator and help strengthen Latino-led, Latino-serving organizations in order to better prepare them to serve the Latinx community in accessing economic opportunity. I'm excited to dive into this virtual gathering with you all and hope that you'll find it constructive, but also that you'll find it to be a signal for us to gather our collective voices and determination to ensure that Latinos are equitably included in the economy of today and the economy of tomorrow. As we continue to rebuild in a post-pandemic world, I'm hopeful that through our intentionality and resolve, we'll be able to design an economy that works for everyone. Thank you, and I'll now pass it over to Peter and Diana of the Hispanic Federation, who will give more information about the outcomes of the Latino Digital Accelerator.
Thank you, Hector, for your insightful words and your commitment to the upward mobility of our community. Welcome, everyone. My name is Diana Caba, and I'm Assistant Vice President for Policy and Community Engagement at Hispanic Federation. It is my pleasure to kick off our Latino Digital Accelerator presentation. As Frankie and Hector mentioned, the goal of Hispanic Federation's Latino Digital Accelerator is to strengthen Latino-led and serving community-based organizations with the resources and expertise they need to grow their digital skilling initiatives, prepare Latinos for the workforce of today and tomorrow, and share best practices for Latino digital skilling and workforce development. HF's Latino-serving nonprofit member agencies and partners are key anchors of Hispanic communities throughout the United States and Puerto Rico. These nonprofits provide indispensable direct services, advocacy, and community mobilizing efforts to hundreds of thousands of Hispanics and serve as a vital source of employment training for tens of thousands of Latino students and workers. New technologies are dramatically changing the workforce requirements of our economy. For Latino nonprofits engaged in workforce training to best serve the needs of the people that they train, they must adapt their curriculum and develop their capacity to prepare these students and workers for the digital economy. Often faced with scarcity of time, resources, and day-to-day work, even the most dedicated organizations miss out on significant larger trends. Latinos will account for 1 out of every 2 new workers entering the workforce by 2025. For this reason, we at HF have taken action on our belief that Latino nonprofits are central to our educating and training the workforce of tomorrow. Often operating as small businesses and drivers of the local economy, Latino nonprofits need to invest in digital training to better serve the Latino community and help provide much-needed development opportunities to the local workforce. Today, we lay out a series of outcomes and best practices that have emerged through the Accelerator and can serve as a model for upskilling the Latino community. I will now pass the mic to my colleague, Peter Michelin, Workforce Initiatives Program Coordinator at Hispanic Federation, who will go over Accelerator highlights and some lessons learned. Thanks, Peter.
Thank you for that intro, Diana. As Diana mentioned, I'm on the Workforce Initiatives team at Hispanic Federation, and I'm excited to be with you all today. I see a lot of familiar faces in the chat. I'd like to just go a little further into what exactly the Accelerator does and who it supports, then give it back to Diana for some key insights. Hispanic Federation selected 24 community-based organizations in 11 states in Puerto Rico. We provided them with seed funding to start a digital skilling program. In addition to capital, HF also provided a digital skilling and job preparedness curriculum and created a network between these 24 CBOs to share best practices. These groups also had access to Hispanic Federation technical assistance and capacity building that we are known for beyond the Accelerator. As I mentioned, we established a curriculum with content for the 24 programs, and this was a crucial component of getting this Accelerator off and running. Our job preparedness and digital skilling curriculum was able to be offered as a standalone digital skilling course. Some programs implemented that course exactly as delivered, while other programs that have already existing workforce programs integrated certain digital components of the HF curriculum into their programming. What was most impressive is how these organizations creatively selected free bilingual content from other online resources to create a curriculum that fits with their community needs. By being adaptable and pulling content from multiple sources, programs were able to meet individual community members at their level. And here's just a quick overview of our impact. Our program saw individuals complete, on average, over 30 hours of digital skilling training. And these programs were also directly responsible for over 1,000 jobs obtained by the participants. Most importantly, over 90% of digital skilling participants were Latinos. This is something Diana will explain further on in the presentation, but this is for us what proves that the value of a model of supporting community-based approach to programming. Now, I mentioned earlier that these programs are adaptive in meeting the community at their level, and that means some programs are offering various levels of digital skilling coursework based on an individual's digital skilling experience and general exposure to technology. We can categorize each of these into one of three levels. The first level is job preparedness and access. These programs start with the computer basics, using search engines and life skills. This level also covers resume writing and professional email etiquette. And for newly arriving immigrants, they may be very skilled and technically trained, but need to learn how to navigate the US job market. The next group is geared towards the administrative positions. This type of coursework involves Google Suite, Microsoft Office, Excel. These are the digital skills that are vital for small business owners and their employees, as well as those interested in the administrative positions. The other group that falls into this category are professional training programs that teach very specific digital skills that apply to one profession. For example, in nursing programs, which are part of the Digital Accelerator, teaching those digital skills that you need to know if you're going to be a successful nurse. The last category is teaching digital skills in the work sector, the tech work sector, excuse me. This includes Python and other coding languages, software development, full stack web development, all with the goal of landing their participants a job in the largest tech company. Although I mentioned a little bit about, who we support, I'd like to talk a little bit more about what specific communities we can support with digital skilling courses. The first are small business owners. As Diana mentioned, the Hispanic community is very entrepreneurial, and teaching organizational and digital marketing skills are vital to the sustainability of Latino-owned businesses. Another group are newly arriving immigrants who need those job preparedness and resume writing skills, or do not have the same level of access to technology in their home country. The third are younger adults who are naturally comfortable with technology, but have the potential to be leaders in the tech sector. Sadly, only 6% of the technology sector is Hispanic. Our programs are looking to change that. We also have senior citizens who are adapting to new technologies and may need support with finding a job or just keeping up with the important digital skills that are now life skills. The next group is probably the biggest category, and these are individuals whose industries were severely impacted by the pandemic and are being proactive and looking to change sectors. As Frankie mentioned earlier, Latinos were some of the most affected by not only the health crisis, but also the economic fallout and job loss crisis stemming from the pandemic. Lastly, there are those who are interested in digital skills that help them secure a job. This could be the resume writing, cover letter work, interview skills, Zoom, and other online meeting technology. Now that covers exactly what the Accelerator is and who we support. I'll pass the mic back to Diana, who could talk more about the key insights we learned through the Accelerator during the past 2 years.
Thanks, Peter. The first insight comes at no surprise. Digital skilling and digital jobs are in high demand. Throughout the past year, and even as we all went from panic to pivot when redesigning our programs and services for remote learning, Digital Accelerator grantees have been and continue to provide their digital skilling courses at maximum capacity. There is a pressing need for receiving digital skills training by trusted community institutions for employment, but also for social connection and the ability to access resources to support families during these trying times. In addition, the value of digital basics is more relevant than ever before. According to Burning Glass Research and Capital One, jobs with baseline digital skills like spreadsheets, word processing, etc., pay 17% more than a non-digital middle skill job. Similarly, when there is curriculum and market alignment, teaching the skills needed for sought-after careers, It really speaks to a conscientious effort to facilitate career pathways for local communities. Jobs that require baseline digital skills like nurse, medical assistant professions, and operations managers are in high demand. Our programs are responding accordingly to secure long-term employment for Latinos. That alignment goes hand in hand with accessing hyperlocal and in-depth job market data that allow our programs to go even further in creating curriculums that train for the digital skills currently needed for in-demand jobs. Relevant to our goal here today, demand is high for culturally competent digital skilling. Each digital skilling program that is part of HF's Accelerator has been filled either at maximum capacity or near maximum capacity with community members, as I mentioned. The pandemic exposed the need for everyone to have digital skills to acquire employment and also to fulfill critical needs like scheduling a vaccine appointment, using technology to connect with family, etc. Our partners at the Hispanic Center of Western Michigan shared, we did not expect our courses to fill so quickly, nor did we expect the digital skills to be so appreciated by our community. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, Hispanic or Latina women have seen disproportionate economic impacts due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Women accounted for 100% of U.S. job losses in December 2020. With Hispanic or Latina women alone accounting for 45% of that job loss. Our Accelerator organizations shared that the majority of their students this past year have been women, a reflection of the job loss caused by the pandemic, but also an opportunity to uplift the most vulnerable in our community by meeting their immediate needs, with many women preferring the remote offerings offered by their community organizations, as it allowed them the chance to participate in trainings and not have to worry about transportation or childcare as they acquire skills. This picture you see here is a pre-pandemic picture, of course, you can see from our partner Monument Impact in Concord, California, which also demonstrates that there was already a high participation rate for women in digital skilling programs. The hybrid models employed by community organizations expanded the flexibility to no longer restrict programming to a hyper-local community or those who are physically able to travel to a site. As we are all seeing across the board, hybrid models are here to stay. With that in mind, Latinos need more support in accessing hybrid work and learning environments. Hybrid models are very important for program delivery, and Latinos have been least prepared for it due to lack of equipment, connection, and basic digital training. Our conclusion confirms what we aim to illustrate through this accelerator, that Latino-focused education is necessary. As Frankie mentioned during his opening remarks, Latinos represent 35% of workers with no digital skills and 20% of those with limited skills. More than half of Latino workers need vital digital skills. The ability to learn digital skills in Spanish is a challenge for the Latino community. In addition, Latinos are among the least represented groups in the technology and digital workforce. Latino-focused education ensures that participants are receiving the culturally competent support needed to ensure success. From adult basic education, English for speakers of other languages, civics education, training for non-traditional pathways, and more. In addition to wraparound services, community-based organizations continue to meet the gaps for their communities. Many accelerator groups continue to provide relief for their participants, especially those unable to access federal programs and efforts to secure the well-being of their community. Lastly, Peter will walk us through our culminating insight.
Thank you, Diana. So I'd like to just summarize our long-term vision for this Latino Digital Accelerator, and that you can see on this slide is establishing a job pipeline. Our goal was to implement a process that leads to a well-paying job. By starting with job market statistics, we took a data-driven approach to understanding what types of jobs are available and what skills are in demand in their local job markets. We then used this data to develop a curriculum that taught the skills that lead to jobs in demand. Supporting a hybrid model was crucial to offering classes during the pandemic. We provided Chromebooks, laptops, and hotspots to optimize a hybrid learning model. Programs established partnerships with businesses to hire graduating participants. Programs also hired job developers and career coaches whose goals were to just help participants land a job. All 5 of these previous components were designed to land a job placement with a sustainable full-time job utilizing digital skills they learned in the accelerator.
Thank you for that, Peter. We are so glad we can gather here today to celebrate the accomplishments of the Latino Digital Accelerator, highlight the amazing organizations and the work that they do within their communities, and share what we have learned together when it comes to digital skills and the specific needs of our Latino community. We applaud our participating Accelerator organizations for the ability to pivot their programming and find innovative solutions to deliver on their promise to provide quality, culturally competent digital skills training. The dire need for digital skills training is a long-standing issue for communities of color. Before the pandemic, the digital divide has been especially detrimental to the economic prospects of Latinos of all ages. The devastation of the pandemic shed light on these deep-rooted inequities, but has also offered the opportunity to see that digital access is no longer a luxury. It is a necessity that goes hand in hand with training, as well as the access to equipment and physical connection to technology. We must fully support trusted nonprofit organizations doing the work to increase access and provide training to close the digital divide while providing comprehensive supportive services to ensure success. I'd like to take this time to see if there are any questions in the comments. Anyone who would I can pass the mic and want to ask a question as well. I see there's a number of questions actually that we'll be happy to follow up separately, including the list of the organizations that are part of the Accelerator that we can connect folks to learn more. I see folks are asking about organizations serving in Puerto Rico, organizations out in Brooklyn as well. I'm just looking through the chat to see. I see a lot of great comments. Thank you so much for the support, and glad to know that this is a much needed conversation that we're having right now.
If I could just mention, I think we could follow up with an email after this event with a list of the Accelerator grantees. I think a lot of people are interested in seeing who's a part of this.
Excellent. And we're following up on answering questions within the comments. So if you have any additional questions, please include them here. And I just want to say right now that immediately following this talk, please join us for our first discussion, kicking off at 1:30, which will focus on establishing a plan of action for addressing the Latino digital divide. We'll hear from key stakeholders in the public, private, and nonprofit sector as they discuss the Latino digital divide and present actions that community advocates, philanthropists, and political leaders can take to support the upskilling of Latinos across the nation. And with that, we will see you in the next session. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.